Hello, my name is Andrew Naring and welcome back to my short tutorial series on Adobe Premiere Pro. This is going to be perhaps the final video for at least a little while on how to get the basics down on creating your own professional videos. However, we'll be covering a few more of the more fun aspects of Premiere Pro now that we actually got the basics down and out. So the first thing that we're going to learn is how to denoise the audio. If you'll listen, you'll probably hear just this droning background noise that typically comes with most videos. It just, in the back, it's just sort of very, very mild feedback. But with this, adding the denoise section, you will be able to hear my voice clearly without intaking so much background noise. And we're also going to be learning how to work with vertical videos. Now, typically TikTok and YouTube Shorts, they have been growing in popularity over the years ever since the Vine boom. That's such a stupid joke. Ever since Vine came around, and we are going to be learning how to edit within that specific format, as well as changing the layout of our workspace in Adobe Premiere Pro to fit our specific needs. And we're also going to be learning animated subtitles. Sort of. It's one specific type of animated subtitle. It's sort of a pop-in effect, but it's still very, very cool, and I'm very glad that I get to have the opportunity to show you what exactly I've learned. So without further ado, let's get started. So, as is tradition, the first thing that you want to do on every project is make sure that you're all completely organized. Organize all your files in the file folder over here in Premiere Pro Projects. Make sure you know which one you're working on, and also organizing your workspace in Adobe Premiere Pro. So that's what I'm going to do just now, so give me a minute. Alright, I have all of my bins in order. I have them all color-coded so that I know which ones are which and where they are, but I have a particular problem here. As you can see, this is just in the regular ratio that we have been working in before, but as I've already mentioned, we're going to be working with a vertical platform type of video, and that is where this comes in. Now, this is going to be quite difficult to edit in. It's also over here, but this is going to be quite difficult to edit in from right here because it's kind of difficult to see what exactly is going on at this distance. But there is a way that we can optimize this to work with editing vertical videos, and this is actually a very useful tool that Premiere Pro added on not too long ago. What we can do is change our entire layout of Premiere Pro. There are two ways that we can do this. One way is to go up to this little box right here, not the quick export, the workspaces, and as you can see, there's a bunch of different options right here. There's one for audio, which is for optimizing our audio tracks, and there's also another one for color, which is used for color grading. Right here, it's a little bit intimidating for even me, but we won't get into this right now. And there's a whole bunch of other ones depending on the project that you'll be working on. But one of these is vertical. It enlarges the vertical aspect ratio on this side right here, while still keeping our project window, this little source window, our timeline, and even our basic tools. This is the type of layout that we'll be using for Adobe Premiere Pro when working with vertical video. And if you just want to skip back to the original layout that you were working on before, one way that you could do it is you could just go to editing, which is the traditional layout that you use for Premiere Pro, or alternatively, you could just go back to reset to save loadout, and it will reset to the first one that you were working with before, or just the one that you have saved, which should be this regular one right here, unless you customize it. And you can edit this accordingly. Like, you could make this a lot bigger and make this a lot bigger, and then after you're done customizing this, changing things around, you could go up to Window, Workspaces, and save as new workspace. But I don't want to do that. But that is how you could change your workspace in Adobe Premiere Pro to optimize your particular projects. But as of right now, we're just going to be working on this little video because there's something I actually want to show you. I just learned this new trick like just a few minutes ago, actually, and I didn't mention it in the intro, but I'm actually quite excited. I recorded the video at essentially the exact same time between my computer camera as well as my phone camera, and my phone's microphone is of better quality than my computer microphone. So what I'm going to do to improve the quality of the audio of this part of the video is I'm going to match it up with my phone's audio. Now, how exactly can I do that in the easiest way possible? Well, this is actually something that a lot of YouTubers and influencers use when using multiple tools for recording at the exact same time, like using Audacity, OBS, recording from the camera, etc. And what they do is they hit the record button on each little tool that they use, and they give a clap, and that clap, as you can see here, gives off a little bit of a sound wave at the very beginning of the clip. And you can match the different pieces of audio to this exact point right here. So let me show you what I mean. The other camera picked up me clapping as well, right here. And what we can do is just go back to the point where I clapped, hit I, and then go over to the end of the clip, hit O, and that in the source window will we have an in and out point, and we can drag this little audio thing right here and put it into our overlays. And now we have just the audio from the second camera, and we have it in here, and we can match it up with the audio right here. And as you can see, the clip starts off with this little piece of sound. And we can match that up exactly with this one right here so that it starts at the exact same time. Match it up with both of them, and then just drag this on top right there. And now the audio will match exactly with the other piece of footage. Excellent. That is how you put an outside source of audio into your video in Adobe Premiere Pro without it being too difficult. So the next thing that we'll be taking care of is the Denoise feature. Now, Denoise, like I mentioned before, is a thing that gets rid of that background sort of droning white noise. It's just there. It's not really that distracting, but it reduces the quality of your audio. And the way how you can do that is by simply going over to the project window, clicking the double arrows if that's necessary, and going over to effects. You could also alternatively just find effects up here, but sometimes you just need to click this and go to effects, and then go over to the search bar and type in Denoise, and it should find it automatically right here. If you wanted to add this onto your entire thing of audio, it's really simple. It's just a drag and drop into your audio, and it will take care of everything throughout your entire video and add the Denoise feature. But I have a specific point where I want to add it in, so I'm just going to add it in right here and then add Denoise manually. And the way how we can edit our Denoise, which isn't really that difficult to do, but if your effect controls for your audio and for your sequence audio isn't already up here, then you could just go over to Window and go over to Effect Controls right here. But if it isn't already pulled up, just do that. But if it is, what you can do is go all the way down to Volume, and you can see the Denoise feature is added right here, and we can edit it by clicking on Edit. And here is the important thing. You can adjust the amount of denoise added onto the audio, and you really have to listen in to find out if the denoise that you're adding is going to corrupt the audio, because sometimes when you add it in, if you add in 100%, it will reduce the quality of your voice through the microphone. So what I've discovered is it's usually best to use denoise between 40 and 70%. Typically between 50 and 60 is good, but you really have to, there really is no way of telling besides just doing it yourself and listening to the audio to see what the best option is for you. But between 40 and 60 or 70 is a pretty good safe zone for you. So just keep that in mind. All right, now we're going to get started with learning animated subtitles. But before you do that, I would recommend just finishing up all the edits that you have in all of your sequences. Don't create an assembly quite yet, because you won't be able to do as much over there, but do all the editing that you need to do in your sequences so that you have everything all prepared. How you get started with animated subtitles is you want to create a style first. What is a style? Let's say that you have 3 different people in your video and you want to create a different type of text text a different font, color, or whatever for each individual person. But for every time they speak, you don't want to constantly be recreating their style of text. What you can do is create a style that matches exactly who they are. And the way how you get started with that is, well, let me create a transcription so that we have proper closed captions on every part of the video from here on out. So let me just do that off screen. If you don't know how to do that, I would recommend watching my previous video on how to create captions and text graphics. So I'll be back in just a second. Okay, I've created my closed captions and transcription, and the next thing that we can do to create a style is just click on one of these, just double click it, and the essential graphics will pop up on the side, and we can customize our transcription in any way that we so chose. I'm going to put the text in the middle, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, I'm going to fill it with a different color, I'm going to change the font. Okay, and I just created my own personal style. It's also important to note that when creating animated subtitles, even if it's just closed captions, you keep your text in the center of this zone position. Even if you don't want it there, it's important that you keep it here, which we'll see in a little while why it's important, but just remember to keep it there. And how we start creating our style is we go to track style, create style, and then we name it whatever we want. So let's call this goof style, and then close this, and just so that we can get started on creating animated subtitles. These are all captions. They are not graphics. They are not a part of this video right here in the timeline. They are their own separate deal. We can't customize them beyond what we've just done. But how we can start animating them is by selecting all of these, going up to graphics and titles, and then clicking upgrade caption to graphic. And now it is purple. It is turned into a graphic, and we can edit it further. Let's go back to this, double click it, click on this so that it pops up, and then we do push to tracker style, and then it is in the rest of our graphics. Excellent. So now we can start working with animated subtitles. Okay, now that we have our goof style created and we can see it down here in the media browser, what we can do now is go to one of our text graphics, click on it, and we want to go to effect controls. Now, this little timeline right here only shows what happens within this small graphic, and this is going to be used for setting keyframes. Keyframes are essentially little checkpoints where changes to your graphic or the video or the cut will happen. Let me explain. How we set a keyframe is we take the playhead to the first frame of this little graphic right here and click the little timer next to scale, because we're going to be doing something with a little pop-in effect and we want something that will change the size. So we leave scale at 100 and that creates a little keyframe. You can see this little diamond right there. We click our right arrow key on our keyboard 3 or 4 times, and then we set another keyframe right here by clicking this little circle, and that sets another keyframe. But the thing is that these two keyframes are both 100, which means that nothing really happens. So what we do is, to make a little pop-in effect, we change this to 120. This way, the size changes gradually across these 3 frames. There, perfect. Now we can make this be a little bit more bouncy by going 1 more frame, selecting another keyframe, and then changing the size to 115, just a little bit smaller than the previous keyframe. And if we look at the full screen again, it pops in and then I'll back down a little bit. One thing that is an issue is that if you want your text to be placed down here, what you'll notice is it goes from here to here. And that is a little bit messier than if we were to just have it pop in the center. The way how we can fix this is by first putting it back up there. The reason why I had it put in the center of our little frame here is because if we click on something called the anchor point, there is a little dot right here that shows where the animation will be coming from in the center. So if we align our text with this little anchor point right here by going to anchor point, clicking on this to show it, and then using this to scroll the y-axis so that our animation moves without moving the anchor point, and we center it with the anchor point. Now we can move the position down here. We won't have that little effect be screwed up by it having coming down, but rather it will pop out to us. Let's take a look. Excellent. So that is how you do that. And one way to give a little pop out effect as each piece of text comes in, what we could do is select all of these, holding Control and clicking on each of them, press copy, Scroll the playhead over nearby the end, press Ctrl V for paste, and then swap all of these. So the beginning one is now at the end. This one is 3 or 4 frames away from this to the left, and this is right next to that. So it has a pop in and a pop out. If we take a look. Perfect. And the next thing that you want to do, just one last step before you apply this little feature to your other subtitles, is to hold Control and click on all of your keyframes, and then right-click on one of them, just one of them, and then you want to select Ease In. This will make it a little bit more fluid. So if we look at this animation now, and it looks a lot better than how it did before. It's a little bit less choppy. This is going to be inside of Vector Motion, where you do all of your keyframe work for your scaling. And to copy this onto the other graphics, just right-click Vector Motion, click Copy, and then select your other graphics by clicking and holding down, and then pressing Ctrl V to paste this feature onto your other graphics, and you can see it's applied to the other pieces of text. Excellent, look at that, that's beautiful. I am very happy that that's actually happening and that I finally was able to learn that. So that just about concludes it for today's tutorial. I don't know how long it will be before I get back into this tutorial series, but I have been having a lot of fun learning Premiere Pro, and I'm going to continue to do it, and maybe I'll take you along for my journey then. But thank you all so much for your time and for watching this series, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.